Hello guys, DJParson and I'm back with another video of the World Championship. We are still in the quarterfinals, so 8 players are left. And we can take a look at the brackets where we see some results already. The only game we have covered was the one between Lawang and Lemmings players. You can see that Santapo is currently in the lead against Weidenbaum. And then we can also see that vanishadow is already 1-0 versus Enderwigan, and we are gonna cover the second game of that right now. Just to fill it up, also Pigfans and Vida don't have a finished game yet. But yeah, we are gonna cover Enderwigan versus vanishadow. So of course you're also gonna take a look at the votings that were done by the players or by the people in the TTI Discord, and we can see quite the certainty here. We have 66.7 and 26.7, blue and yellow, and both of that is Enderwigan. So only one person has voted for vanishadow, and the rest are sure that Enderwigan will take this. So keeping that in mind, we can see that he currently is behind. So let's see if he can make a comeback in this second match. And in the second match, Enderwigan will have the first turn and he will grab the Acropolis. So he will probably be quite happy about that. We can of course take a look at the Leaders and Wonders. We see Library and Roman Roads are also there, so vanishadow can get one of those. St. Pete's, Joan of Arc, Bach and Shakespeare. That of course makes the Acropolis even better, but we also have a little bit of strength. We have Barbarossa, Napoleon. So vanishadow could try and punish Enderwigan if he wants to go Acropolis and a lot of culture production. We have the Sewers and Cook. From H1 we have Eleanor and I guess Barbarossa as the only colony leaders. We have Pierre and Marlene. Iron Fleming but no Hollywood. Spaceflight also no Red Cross. Alright. So Enderwigan gets that Acropolis. vanishadow, yeah, probably Confucius, I would bet. Yeah, he just goes for Confucius. That will give Enderwigan the Hammurabi, but he will have to pay 2 civil elections for him. Yeah, so that is a good move, I think. And that means Enderwigan will not go for Hammurabi here. Interesting. I probably would have done that. I probably would have gone for Hammurabi, but looks like Enderwigan also likes Boudica. He is pretty flexible, especially in first position with that Acropolis. He will probably be stronger. And then is maybe able to get the extra science or whatever he wants from Boudica. Now we can see, will vanishadow go for Library or for the Roman Roads? We will of course elect Aristotle. Will increase Confucius, sorry. And then go for the Library instead of the Roman Roads. Okay. For me, pretty equal those two. Maybe would have gone Roman Roads because you have extra science from Confucius, but vanishadow decides for the Library still. Enderwigan will open the development of crafts. Will build an extra lab. Increase population. He has taken the science from Boudica. Can build one stage of the Acropolis and grab stockpile. Stockpile, interesting. I mean, the rest were really bad. So I guess the only alternative would have been not to build the Acropolis step. Maybe grab Knights. But you can also just leave the Knights on 2 here. The stockpile, I mean, it's not too great, but it might be okay. Development of planning. We can then take a look. Agriculture, civil life, or trade routes. And we see vanishadow has chosen to take the trade routes. With that, he can finish the Library, so that's great for him. And then he has 1 civil election left. We'll grab the Urban Growth, still from HA, so both of these players grab these HA yellow cards still. And Enderwigan will then probably also go for the trade routes. And what does he take from Boudica? Rocks this time. Okay, so he probably wants to finish the 1 and upgrade 1 irrigation. Yeah, that's what he does. So he goes for the irrigation this turn. Skips those knights and will finish the Acropolis here. Maybe going for Forbidden City next turn. But vanishadow is also ready for that, and with the Forbidden City coming down to 1, we might see vanishadow go for that on his turn then. First, Enderwigan has to end his turn. Gets the extra food production now. Will have good population. And vanishadow, of course, pushes once again even more science for him from that development of science. And then he will go for the Forbidden City. Will build that lab. So 3 science production plus the 2 he just got and all of the extra science from Confucius means he's gonna go up to 12 science now. So he's ready for the Conmon, but Conmon won't come out for quite some time. It also leaves the printing press on too. Development of markets will be our last development card opened here. And then we can grabs Code of Laws for 3. Can he still get out of corruption by building a warrior? Probably, yeah. Probably has taken the science. Yeah, Boudica gives him science. Yeah, Code of Laws. Yeah, kind of. We see that really often recently. Code of Laws grabbed for 3, especially by these Chinese players. At least I have no data on that, but feels like it. I remember one game, maybe the last one that I covered, where that also happened. I mean, sure, it would have been very, very good for vanishadow to get the code with his science. I guess when Enderwigan could have also just left the Code of Laws on 3, I think that would have been a fine play as well. Upgrade the mines, grab an urban growth, frugality, maybe even those swordsmen. He could then go for theocracy, but he can still do that. He still leaves the theocracy on 2, and with that Acropolis he could still go for the theocracy. And that of course is a lot better with the Code of Laws then. Vanishadow opens even more science. Then he will build on the Forbidden City, increase population, grab rich land. You see this guy's ignoring the printing press, even though there is Shakespeare and even Darwin plus Fleming. But I mean, vanishadow has enough science. He probably has no interest in going for printing press. Enderwigan, yeah, he might have with the extra population from the irrigation and the Acropolis. He probably would have liked it, but couldn't grab it last turn. He had to pay 3 civil actions for that code. So now Enderwigan could go for theocracy if he wants. There's also the monarchy, but I think another card for 3 civil actions will be too expensive. He does go for Gutenberg. Gutenberg, increased population. I still would like the theocracy here. Gets the free Taj Mahal with this place, so he does quite a lot in this turn. He has built the extra lab with Gutenberg, so he's got 1 extra civil action. I still would like to see the theocracy, and he will go for it. Okay, so either he could have gone for it this turn, or so he's decided to upgrade the irrigation instead of developing the theocracy this turn. I mean, he might be able to save 1 more science next turn on the theocracy. So yeah, the math changes a little bit here, but now he's got 1 extra food instead of the theocracy and maybe saving 1 science. But I would have preferred going for the theocracy. For the happy face, there might be rebellion, there might be immigration. Of course, he might have the knowledge that we don't. The strength probably won't matter, but the culture might, and the extra card draw. So I would have preferred the theocracy this turn, but yeah, who knows? Maybe he wants to go for religions. Next turn he could increase population with his stockpile, go for 2 religions, make the theocracy just cost 1 science. So he decides to upgrade the irrigation. I can't say that's bad. I probably would have gone for theocracy myself. So I have breakthrough. Okay, more and more science for vanishadow. He's up to 21 science now. He's not spent a single science point. And of course it's great to have a lot of science, but it's kind of not really working out for him in the best manner at the moment. You don't want to save up all of your science in the early game. You want to use the science to get something useful out of that. So he can't be too happy to accumulate all of the science and not spend anything. Talking about spending, he might go for the monarchy here, but he won't. Goes for iron instead and wants the irrigation. Skips the breakthrough. I think that is a very good decision. Sure, it does give the breakthrough to Enderwigan then, and breakthrough is very good. But yeah, he doesn't have the most civil actions and yeah, enough science. So I think I definitely agree with that position. Then Enderrigan will push as well. We get the Barbarians. Enderrigan has the most culture, but not one of the two weakest, so nothing happens. He's probably going to be happy about the Engineering Genius. And see, he now does go for Theocracy without building extra urban buildings. We'll then grab Drama and Alchemy. Yeah, the Alchemy was free with Gutenberg. But no, doesn't go for the Engineering Genius. I think that's... Yeah, I can't say I'm too happy about that play. He could have just not increased population, built another warrior. I mean, why not, right? Why not the extra warrior? He might not need it, but he has enough population, and that would have still gotten him out of corruption. And that would give him the Engineering Genius for 3 rocks for that Taj Mahal, because he doesn't have the most rocks. Just the 3 production, and not the iron in hand or anything. He wants to go for alchemies. They don't cost that much with Gutenberg, but they still cost a little bit. So I would have preferred to see the Engineering Genius here, to be honest. Now this works still, but I mean, he also has 8 rocks in the bank, so maybe he's fine. This makes it even better. Uncertain Borders won by Enderrigan here, so the payoff for the military where he has gone for, or the punishment for vanishadow, just ignoring military, comes by the Uncertain Borders, which is quite the harsh punishment, to be honest. He will then go for Eleanor, can upgrade to Iron, grab Frugality, increase population, not even going for the Warfare. I think I would have liked to see the Warfare here. Warfare would have enabled him to go for the Republic quite easily and not be unhappy about that. Because he still has so much science, he needs to spend it somewhere. First of all, spending it on the Warfare, it's a good tech to have. Yeah, it has the problem. The biggest problem of the Warfare is that it kind of denies you from one of the best techs in the game, which is the strategy. So I would have preferred... you usually prefer strategy over Warfare, and so you don't want to go for the Warfare. But with this much science and it not doing anything, and what does he do if now the Republic comes out? I mean, he probably still goes for it. He probably still has to go for it, and it will be good, something out of the science. But yeah, I would have liked the Warfare. I think this would have been a good position, and not go for the Frugality. I don't really see that he needs more population here. But with that, Age 2 will start, and Enderrigan will lose the stockpile that he got quite early on. We'll then push, get the Knowledge of the Ancients, Science, 1 rock, and vanishadow 3 more Science. Alright, so Alchemy for Enderrigan. He will upgrade 1 without using Gutenberg, and another one. Okay, he's not getting the full value out of his Gutenberg. But he wants the Cartography. I mean, there might be colonies, of course, and there is still that Suez Canal. So he could still go for that. I mean, these 2 upgrades, he can still use Gutenberg 1 more time for the last Alchemy upgrade. He will have a ton of science production. So then also, Cartography is something pretty useful to get for your science. It's a little bit expensive with 3 civil actions here, but he didn't have too much to do anyway. I still think that with the Engineering Genius, he could have just finished the Taj Mahal this turn. Maybe don't upgrade 2 alchemies, maybe just 1, wait for the efficiency from Gutenberg. But without the Engineering Genius, he'd rather spend his rocks on the alchemy upgrades, apparently. He is up to 5 strength, so vanishadow has to start worrying a little bit. We get the inhabited territory right after Enderrigan goes for Cartography. So for that warrior and 1 card, he gets the inhabited territory. 27 science from vanishadow. We'll then try and go for printing presses for 2 civil actions, and then irrigation and iron upgrade. I mean, he still has good production. He has, civil actions are missing. So for him, if he gets, let's say, the Conmon, his game is not looking bad. As long as he doesn't have it, he is not looking too strong. I mean, he has good production, don't get me wrong, but his civil actions are lacking. And Enderrigan seems to have quite a lot as well. Besides the rock production, he also has too much population, so both of the players don't have the most efficient civilizations. One has too much science and unemployed workers, and the other one has, yeah, just a lot of unemployed workers. And also quite a lot of science. So this is a very high science game, which is something different than we see usually. Quite often we see the high culture games early on with printing presses, but in this game we have alchemies and the big science stash. So Rebellion comes out, but no one has unhappy workers at this point anymore. Also Bach has come out. You won't see him this turn, but an architecture grab by Enderrigan. And yeah, architecture is one of the very good techs that you can go for if you have a lot of science, and both of them definitely have that. So these blue techs in general, they don't cost population, they just cost science. So if you have a lot of science, sure, you want the blue techs, so architecture will be grabbed by Enderrigan. You will then also go for the iron and can upgrade one here. So upgrading his production a little bit, and then even building. Builds another philosophy. As we said, he has a lot of unemployed workers, so he builds another mine with Gutenberg. 4 labs, 6 science production, and he can still upgrade these one after the other. I mean, most of the time we see Gutenberg plus printing presses, but Gutenberg with Acropolis and the government has, if you have the population, which he has because of the early irrigation, and his colony, of course, the inhabited, this is really a lot of value out of Gutenberg. Getting the philosophies, upgrading each of them, gives a lot of science, gives a lot of uses for Gutenberg. Vanishadow will then open the call to arms. I mean, at least he gets extra Carter, which is something he's still missing, only those 2 MAs. Then he will go for Bach. We'll wait to get the opera, doesn't have to go for it now. Grabs the masonry as well. Yeah, I mean blue techs, right? Blue techs with a lot of science. Masonry probably not what he wanted. He would have preferred the architecture, definitely. But that's not what he gets here. He is guaranteed to get a copy of the opera, so he just grabs Bach, doesn't have to go for the operas yet. And Enderrigan is not really ready for Shakespeare, so he could go for Darwin. I think Darwin could be very strong for him with these 4 labs already. Darwin would give 4 culture production immediately, so that is quite strong, and the extra reach is useful with the theocracy. So I think that is what we're gonna see. But then Vanishadow will be able to catch up and overtake his opponent in culture production, because Bach gives more than Darwin. New deposits 4 and 6, so we have a lot of rocks now in the game as well. We get Darwin from Enderrigan, who first uses Gutenberg one more time and then will go for Darwin. Upgrades an iron, another iron, and maybe this time the engineering genius, no, will deny the opera or go for the opera, however you want to phrase it. Yeah, I don't know if he starts to regret the Taj Mahal. He did get it for free. There were no really great wonder opportunities yet. But doesn't feel like he needs the Taj Mahal. He has still so much population. He'd much rather go for operas or architecture. That's probably why he doesn't want the engineering genius. I mean, next turn he can build or develop opera and architecture, start building these operas. And then he can keep up with the culture production of Vanishadow. If you combo the culture from Darwin, from the labs, and then on top of that get these operas. I mean, first of all, Vanishadow now can't go for Bach immediately. And Enderrigan can start to get a lead in culture. And then with these operas, if he builds 3 operas, all of a sudden you will be in the mid-10s of culture production. So 15 or something. Can't do the quick math. 9. So yeah, 15 from 3 operas. And he could even go for more. With the architecture, they are quite cheap. So how will Vanishadow respond? I mean, first he responds by getting the second opera out already as the last card. He also responds by getting hit by the Reign of Terror, so a little bit of population gone. Will then go for cannon. Still has too much science, still hasn't gotten those Cornmon or Republic opportunities. Will go for more food, wants more population. Has built the 1 cannon, is stronger now. And we have yeah, one of Endarigan's cards on top. So getting stronger is definitely useful. And I would guess the next turn he goes for Opera plus Bach. Still gets back the extra civil actions from Eleanor. So he has a lot of potential. As we said before, he has good production and that big science amount in his bank. Not the highest production, but yeah, he's slowly chipping away on that stack. And yes, the potential for a very strong turn. If we imagine that he gets Conmon, replaces Eleanor with Bach, gets back the extra civil actions, he will have a very strong turn. Can maybe on the same turn go for Operas, then all of a sudden he's at 10 culture production or something. So he definitely has a lot of potential. He just needs the kickoff now. He needs something like the Republic or the Conmon. And Endarigan will then go for the architecture, not the opera yet. We'll build an extra mine, okay. Upgrade one more alchemy. And he will decide to go for dramas instead of operas. That one I don't completely understand. He decides to get more rock production from the iron, decides to go for the architecture. And then he decides against the opera. I mean, yeah, operas are still a lot more expensive than dramas. They still cost double the amount. So maybe it's just saying, I have population. Rocks are always going to be a problem. Even if I get these cheap operas, 6 is still almost my full production. So with going for the drama instead, I can build extra. I have the population. I can easily build 4 dramas with the Acropolis, and 4 dramas is better than 2 operas but cost the same rocks. So he just feels like he doesn't need to be population efficient and just wants to be rock efficient. Also getting the cannons here, he's ready for military response if vanishadow tries that route. First, we get the economy. Okay, I mean, that definitely explains the extra cannon from Endarigan. Economic progress, he still only gets +4 because of corruption, I guess. Did have the big corruption. So it would have been quite nice to pop a couple of times. He knew what was on top. I don't know if he misdid the calculations for how much corruption he would have, or if he decided it wasn't worth it. Well, he could have increased population instead of going for the drama, right? But I don't know if that math checks out and he would have produced extra rocks, but I think so. So maybe a small mistake by him. Vanishadow now is very rich as well, and I think we're gonna see a very strong turn for him. Sadly for him, not involving the Conmon. I think we're gonna see Opera and then Bach. And as well as the Masonry, then yeah, Bach. Develop the opera, can build one and maybe upgrade one of the labs if he wants to. No, builds a cannon, okay. And builds one opera then. 7 culture production, 2 cannons, 9 strength. Still a lot of science, but it does become smaller amounts. But still has enough for the Conmon. And 7 culture production now versus 6. But Endarigan has the lead, as we said. Getting that early Darwin which gives 4 culture was enough to keep him ahead, but not by much, to be honest. Or is he even ahead? After the production here, vanishadow will have 36. And Endarigan only at what, 39? Yeah, 39 only, so not a real lead at all, so super close at this point. Endarigan will also grab the cavalryman. I mean, military was mostly ignored up to this point. But the players are getting ready to change that. Vanishadow already invested 10 rocks into 2 cannons. Let's say he has fortifications. Yeah, that spells trouble for Endarigan, so he has to also be prepared. Maybe he doesn't have H2 tactics, needs to prepare for H3 tactics. Gets the cannon, cavalryman, and then there's even still the rifleman that he could get. But I would expect... oh no. I expected wrong. He will go for 1 cavalryman and then maybe 2 dramas. No, 2 cavalrymen. Wants to be stronger. Okay, the top card is played by Endarigan. So there could be something strength related and he wants to get that 1 extra strength to be stronger than Vanishadow. And then he will increase pop, will not start to build these dramas, but he will reveal his tactic, and it will be hussars, which he can easily reveal because vanishadow doesn't have any cavalry. He has 4 units which are not cavalry, so it's not really likely that vanishadow would like to copy that tactic at any point. So Enderwigan now being stronger, but he had to skip his culture upgrade. Still, with the 10 rocks, maybe now he can feel secure and say, alright, I did a little bit of military, had to do it sadly, but next turn he could go and just build 3 dramas. So he could see that potentially. Vanishadow still pushes, and the vast territory is revealed, which Enderwigan is able to win for 6+. And he gets it for just Aurora. This is really, really good for him. I mean, he already has a lot of population. But this, of course, means even more population. And with the Acropolis, we're looking at 4 dramas, definitely. If he gets an early H3, or in general an H3 government, we're going to be looking at 5 dramas, maybe even with Marlene. With the rocks, we could also still see journalisms and that stuff. With Fleming, maybe multimedias. He has the population for it. He definitely has the population for it. Vanishadow finally gets something for science. It will be that Republic will rebuild 1 lab, grab the frugality and the journalism. Yeah, he finally got something for that science he's been accumulating. Not the Conmon. So in general, we have to say that part was a little bit unlucky for Vanishadow. That all the good techs came out very late. I mean, the best techs for him are Conmon, Republic, Justice System, and Strategy, I would say. And all of them were really, really late. On the other hand, at least the Republic comes out on his turn and can't be denied by Enderwigan. So I guess he has to be happy about that at this moment. Yeah, still he's not drawing a lot of MAs. That's also kind of making it so that the military pressure he tried to put on didn't really work. There's still the strategy, he could still get it. It's basically 50-50 now. He will reveal his cannons. He will even build another one, so he wants to be stronger. Goes up to 16. He will not be drawing any extra cards, but he probably has all the cards from H2 that he wants. And there we go. Oh, are we gonna see the Conmon now? Conmon comes out. It will only cost 5 science. Yeah, he grabs it. Will develop it. So he gets that big upgrade. And he also got those 3 dramas. So 11 culture production now versus 11. But Vanishadow actually is slightly ahead with that Bach upgrade last turn. He has overtaken Enderwigan now, following up with 11 culture production. But Vanishadow has the operas, which give more. But Enderwigan still has room for improvement, can build 1 more drama next turn. But Vanishadow can also upgrade 1 more lab, go for something like that. So this culture race is on. Vanishadow has the better culture leader. But Enderwigan has more population, more production. And there might be H3 leaders which help him. But even that, he doesn't have any culture production really besides the labs and Darwin. And Vanishadow, I guess he only has the 1 from the library as well. Yeah, they both have just the 1 besides their leaders and operas or dramas. And then Enderwigan will lose the Taj Mahal now, because already we are H3 now. Enderwigan loses Taj Mahal, Vanishadow loses printing press, but he might get, or he probably will get, that strategy now. Crime Wave will hit Enderwigan, so he loses the 3 culture here. Vanishadow will upgrade 1 philosophy to the opera, meaning he goes down to 1 science production. I guess he wants to go for journalism's next turn, but this turn, first of all, he has to go for strategy. Will probably develop it as well. Grabs the breakthrough, has to develop strategy, right? Yeah, he wants the extra card draw. Develops the strategy. So now he's spent the science. He's down to 1 science production, has spent everything that he has saved up. He is ready next turn to go for journalisms, which then gives him culture production, science production once again. And he has spend his science on good things. Republic plus strategy gives him good civil and military actions. So he finally found something good to do with all of that science. And now his position isn't looking too bad. Enderwegen grabs military theory and he gets it for 1. It comes out, and thanks to Darwin, he just has to pay 1 civil action for that. Yeah, I mean, he is now the one who wants to find something to spend his science on, and this might just be one of the best cards to do that. Military theory grabs reserves as well, and the breakthrough builds 1 more drama, and probably cavalryman to get out of corruption. Yeah, so 20 strength, he will overtake vanishadow. He still has the better production, 8 versus 6. He has now, yeah, fallen behind a little bit in culture production. So this is the power of Bach. Bach just needs these 3 operas to go up to 15 culture production. Enderwegen, yeah, needs 4 dramas, these alchemies plus his leader. But yeah, even with 4 alchemies, Bach is still producing 5 culture versus the 4 of Darwin. So vanishadow plays with nationalism, can build another cannon. So we also have quite a military build-up here. Both these just spamming their respective military units. Vanishadow grabs an urban growth. Can go and build 1. Destroys Aurora, okay, and build 1 journalism, stabilizing his science production a little bit. You don't really want to stay on just the 1 science production for too long in this type of game, so getting the journalism this turn is really, really good. Also helps with the culture, 17 versus 13 now. So yeah, I mean, military-wise, it's also not looking too bad. He has patriotism, he just used the wave of nationalism to get that free cannon. He is now stronger. Enderwegen has a little bit more production, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. Vanishadow also has the better tactic. Fortifications is a little bit more efficient than Hussars with just the cavalryman. So, I mean, I liked Enderwegen's position early on a lot more, but I think we're seeing mainly the strength of Bach, which is just so much more efficient, rebuilding these philosophies onto the operas and then using the new population to build journalisms. I mean, Enderwegen still has a lot of potential. Maybe he gets a new leader, or I think he would be quite happy about multimedias. But first of all, we see him build a cavalryman, making him stronger once again. Grabs the military buildup. That is a good pickup in this military race. Vanishadow probably wants to be stronger again, but if he does that, Enderwegen can use the military buildup. Enderwegen also grabs another wonder, the space flight. His second wonder only. The Taj Mahal just sat there and denied him any H2 wonders, but this one should be very good. Very high science game, especially from Enderwegen with the high production of those 4 alchemies and 4 labs in general, which he had for quite a long time. So this space flight should really go to the moon and give him a lot of culture. It also denies fundamentalism, or it keeps it as an option if he wants to go for military. Could definitely work still. Vanishadow will go for Fleming. Yeah, Fleming is quite good for him. Giving him now, I mean, not even more than Bach. Fleming only gives 4 culture production, Bach would give 5. But, of course, Ein Fleming can also take a look at his opponent's hands, and that might be quite useful. Especially relatively early on. He definitely can look 2 times into Enderwegen's hand, which gives a lot of information, so that's great. Vanishadow also has to go for a wonder. There's 1 more left, the United Nations, but yeah, I think definitely grabbing a wonder here is very useful. And with his opponent going for 1, Vanishadow definitely also wants 1 here. Grabs the endowment. Copies a tactic. Okay, copies the Hussars. So that Enderwegen can't use the military buildup, I guess. Yeah, probably something like that. So Vanishadow is afraid that Enderwegen, I don't know, switches tactics and then gets his military build-up enabled. So Vanishadow actually goes down quite a lot in strength. Doesn't want to care about that too much, that his opponent could just use the military build-up. Interesting moves, interesting moves. I mean, it probably means he has enough defend cards to defend. That would be a disaster if now Enarigan tries an aggression and vanishadow couldn't defend. But I wouldn't count on that. I'm pretty confident that vanishadow has calculated that and knows that he can defend. Enarigan gets the terrorism and he has the least amount of culture, so he can destroy one of these buildings, and he decides to destroy that journalism. That is expensive. That is a very well-timed terrorism. So the journalism destroyed 7 rocks gone, and vanishadow has to rebuild that because of Fleming. But yeah, Enarigan probably played that himself. Oh no, vanishadow played that himself, the terrorism. We can see all the H3 cards here were played by vanishadow. I mean, he was behind in culture for most of H2, but now he's gotten actually quite ahead thanks to Bach. And that terrorism definitely hurt him a lot now, so yeah, not ideal at all. Enarigan doesn't want to trust his military, wants to win this in other ways, goes for multimedias. I mean, they cost only 9, they produce 4 culture thanks to Darwin at the moment. So you will build that. 11 science production, also making for a very, very strong multimedia now. If he gets all of this text research, 11 science production, yeah, we're gonna have a very, very strong space flight. I think the usual is around a little bit more than 20, can be achieved quite easily, but Enarigan could definitely go for a space flight that gives more than 30, maybe even more than 35 culture. And he starts researching a couple of techs here, starts with the mechanized agriculture. Vanishadow will push, we get the iconoclasm. Oh yeah, that is a nice hit by vanishadow. So the terrorism wasn't good for him, but the iconoclasm definitely is. That's then also the reason why he went for Fleming and didn't want to keep Bach. And Enarigan, yeah, 4 culture production, or even 5 culture production from Darwin gone. And these alchemies now, before they were alright. I mean, 1 culture and 2 science is alright. But now in H3, just the 2 science production is really, really bad for him. I mean, not in general bad. He can probably destroy them and they might still be okay. I mean, science is never super bad. But losing the culture production here definitely hurts him a lot. And the leaders, yeah, Marlene would be great for him, giving 4 culture production, all the happy faces, and maybe some military at some point as well. But I'm not sure if we're gonna see her or if he's forced into another leader. Vanishadow can also destroy his Aurora, builds or rebuilds the journalism, builds a religion. So for him now, he's not, yeah, his plans can't be too fancy. He has to make sure that he can finish the fast food chains in his last turn. He has to make sure that there won't be a war by Enarigan, because he is dangerously close or dangerously far behind in military, 15 to 27. And Enarigan, even without using the military buildup, has fundamentalism, has reserves, he has a lot of MAs. So if air forces come out and still both copies are available, he can easily go for 2 air forces and fundamentalism, if the civil actions are enough for that. So vanishadow has to be careful with that. Let's see how many cards he grabs. He can't finish the H. Grabs reserves, all the yellow cards. Yeah, we'll copy the tactic again. So now he doesn't care too much anymore. Okay, yeah, I think I agree. If next turn there is a war by Enarigan, vanishadow would still have to copy the fortification, and he doesn't have enough MAs. So he has to copy that now again. This won't give him a lot of card draw, just 1 card draw this turn. It could cost him a little bit if he doesn't have the necessary impacts yet. So the stunt that he's pulled with copying the hussars and then recopying the fortifications has definitely cost him, I think, 3 or 4 H3 military cards, which is definitely quite the cost for this move. Might have still been the right one if Enarigan could have last turn put the same move, copy the fortifications, and then use the military buildup and prepare for a war next turn. That could have been very bad for vanishadow as well, but this didn't come at no cost for him. This definitely could have hurt him if he doesn't have the impacts yet. But this way, Narigan won't go for war. He will reveal the civil unrest, but not too much is happening here. And sadly for him, Marlene has not come out, and this is his last turn to go for leader. So actually Pierre might be better for him. Pierre just for the 8 culture next turn. Yeah, is more than just Marlene next turn for the 4 or 5 culture production. But first, Narigan will go for democracy. Can then also build another drama if he wants to, but looks like he will go for Pierre instead, so no extra drama for him. And vanishadow also could have gone for the democracy. I think that's one of the biggest problems. That's where Narigan really wanted to deny it and then go for it as well, but with the revolutionary idea, vanishadow would have had enough. Yeah, Pierre for 8 culture, at least that's something. And then the Wonder probably has to do a lot of work, because before this production, or before the last turn, or the last 2 turns, it's at 101 to 120. So vanishadow also still has the higher amount of culture production. Pierre plus spaceflight. This will be very, very close, I think. We have only 2 impacts at this point. Yeah, and if we count everything together, this fast food chains will definitely be a lot worse than the spaceflight. And we can also get the Olympic Games on top. vanishadow, yes, a couple of extra rocks, but most of the rocks that he has need to go for the fast food chains. And then it probably will come down to the impacts. Who has what? And vanishadow probably doesn't have the best. As we said, he hasn't drawn too many. H4 will start. Will vanishadow push? Yes, he will. So 3rd impact in. Emigration. And Regan will actually lose 1 population because of that. Vanishadow grabs reserves. Grabs multimedia with efficient upgrade. Yeah, these are free upgrades for him. At least this one is. Could grab another efficient upgrade if he wants, but will start first of all building on the fast food chains. Doesn't quite get an out of corruption. Grabs pro sports. Okay, pro sports to deny that from Enderrigan, I guess. Deny the technology. No, the technology doesn't really matter too much. There's computers and air force for the 20 signs from Enderrigan. So you can develop those too. But his happy phases aren't too great, so there might be input of happiness, of course. Yeah. Or vanishadow even wants to go for the pro sports himself. Pro sports is good for a lot of different impacts. But this will be the last move of his almost last turn. The next one, he can still do something. But yeah, 20 culture production to 15. Let's see how big the spaceflight from Enderrigan will be. He also gets an impact. The first one revealed is impact of competition, 8 to 8, so nothing changed. We see the air forces, computers, yeah, get that for the spaceflight. Of course, we also see the Olympic Games being used by Enderrigan. And then how big is this spaceflight? 30. Okay, it's just the 30. I could have seen more, but I think he spent quite a lot of his last science on democracy and this civil service, which cost a lot, both of them. And they replaced technologies that were already there, and those technologies replaced won't be counted for the weren't counted for the space flights. So the Conmon and the Code of Laws both don't count for the space flight. Yeah, 165. Actually, this will enable the endowment of the arts from vanishadow. This is one of the advantages of being the second player. Quite often, after finishing your wonder, the last player is behind before the last or during his last turn and can use the endowment. Let's see, does Enderrigan still do anything else? Not really increase population. Can actually build 1 more drama, so 17 production. Destroy 1. Okay, go for variety, destroys 1 cavalryman, goes for warriors. And that will be at 182 before the impacts. Does vanishadow get another impact? Yes, he does. Ooh, impact of technology, 28-4. Oh wow, yeah, and Regan got the perfect impact for him. This might just turn the game around. This might turn it around completely. I mean, without it, with the endowment and with the... I mean, the fast food chain won't be too bad. Yeah. So vanishadow, what can he do? Builds one journalism. Still has enough rocks to finish that fast food chains for 23. So 7 less than the space flight. That's not the biggest difference. And then that's... might be... no, he destroys one mine. Will build a warrior as well for the input of variety. Alright, so we're gonna have 209 versus 210 before impacts. Yeah, but we do have 3 impacts. The best one for Enderwigan was already revealed. So we have 2 impacts from vanishadow and just the one from Enderwigan. Let's see here. Population 18 to 14. The first one is good for Enderwigan. If this was the one played by Enderwigan, then I see almost no hope for Enderwigan himself, because vanishadow with his 2 impacts could easily overtake just the 5 culture difference. The next one is balance, 8 to 8. Okay, so it all comes down to the last impact. Just a 5 culture difference, and it is harmony 16 to 20. That's not enough. 1 culture missing here. 252 versus 251. In such a high culture game, having just the 1 culture difference, that is insanity. That is, I mean, that is not even 1%. That is not even 0.5% difference in culture at the end here. Wow, I don't know if I've ever seen a 1 culture win in such a high culture game. Wow. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I had something wrong. I thought it was close even without seeing the impact of technology, but the impact of technology was 100% needed for Enderwigan, because he got all like 24 culture from that. So without that it wouldn't have been close at all. Maybe I had those cultures wrong at some point, or maybe vanishadow. Now, he did have the culture production from H2 on. Enderwigan did his best with Darwin, but Bach was just too much to keep up. But then in the end, with a very strong spaceflight, with an insane input of technology, and the 1 culture difference will be all that is needed for Enderwigan. So congrats to him. He will draw this matchup, make it 1-1. What an amazing game. Hope you guys enjoyed watching it. I definitely think you did. I don't think I can really promise any more exciting matches, but we will try. I think the players will try, and I of course will try to give you more great content. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't miss the fun of the next ones coming. This, I mean, only the quarterfinals. We still have the semi and the complete super finals ahead of us, and I mean, as I said, can't promise they will be as close as this one, because yeah, this sets the bar really high, but the finals and semifinals should definitely be super exciting too. So definitely subscribe if you haven't, so you don't miss the next amazing game. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you next time.